Hey there, saltwater anglers, and welcome to the Lower Chesapeake Bay Fishing Report, your local report, whether it's good, bad, or ugly. This podcast is part of the Great Days Outdoors Network, and each week we're talking with local experts to learn how we can become better anglers in our pursuits offshore, nearshore, and inshore. So, let's work together and keep this amazing fishery healthy and thriving for generations to come by remembering to protect what we pursue. Cooler temps have fish on the move, and our expert guides are helping us stay tight with those target species we love to chase. So, let's hear who's making the show possible, and then jump into the reports. Listen up. AFTCO has a promotional gift for all Great Days Outdoors Podcast Network listeners. They're now offering a camo sunglasses cleaner cloth with any purchase of AFTCO products. For those cold, wet, or windy days, I especially enjoy my weatherproof fabric barricade jacket, as well as my Helm insulated fishing gloves. All you got to do to get your coupon code is text LCBFR to 779-345-2918. You'll get subscribed to our email list, and we'll send you the promo code via email. Boaters know that the unexpected can happen anytime. That's why SeaTow offers 24/7 on-water assistance with priority service for members. Whether it's a dead battery, running out of fuel, or needing a tow, SeaTow's fleet is ready to help. Membership includes unlimited towing with no distance or dollar limits in your home area, fuel delivery, jump starts, and more. Plus, members receive exclusive discounts on fuel, electronics, dockage, and boat insurance. With over 500 ports nationwide, SeaTow has you covered wherever you boat. Join today at seatow.com and boat with confidence. All right, guys, welcome to this special segment. I wanted to take this week's show and kind of set it aside from a fishing report perspective and dig into some technology, I'm going to call it technology, that's really transforming the boating and boat operation globally. And it is the Seakeeper RIDE system. So I'm really excited to introduce to you guys Justin and Brandon. Justin Trapani did I pronounce it correctly?
Yeah.
Okay, Justin Trapani is with
Tomato.
yeah, is with Seakeeper and Brandon Overall, who operates 110 Marine here locally. Welcome to the show, guys. How y'all doing?
Hey, how's it going? Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, man, I'm glad to have you guys on. Brandon, you and I have gotten to know each other through the fishing community, cobia fishing, tournament fishing, and then of course you introduced me to Justin here when we looked at the Seakeeper ride system for my boss's boat, which it's been an awesome experience so far. We'll get
Yeah,
into that,
cool.
but kick us off. So, Justin, tell us a little bit about yourself and your role at Seakeeper.
Yeah, so I've been here almost about 3 years. I was one of the first sales reps we hired, and I originally started. I covered. It was me and my boss and one other guy that got this ball rolling. And I used to cover Virginia all the way to Maine, all the Great Lakes. So I really saw it expand there. And then as we gotten bigger, we've kind of scaled back. So now I handle the Mid Atlantic for us.
Very
So
cool.
it's a little bit about what I do here. And I'm only on the refit side. We have an OEM team that handles all the OEM side of the boat building and all that fun stuff for us.
Very cool. And Brandon, what about yourself, man? Tell us about 110.
Yeah, so I grew up here in Yorktown, Virginia, which is located right here on the Chesapeake Bay. Uh, my dad always had boats growing up, and I ran around the marinas being kind of a little bilge rat and uh, helping out him and working on his boats. And naturally, it's just kind of in my blood that I've just got a passion for boats, boat building, and boat restoration. Prior to starting 110 Marine, I worked for a company called Main Industries, which is a subcontractor here at Newport News Shipbuilding. Worked for them for about 13 years. And what they focused on and specialized in was protective coatings for the Navy's fleet,
Mm-hmm.
all the way up to submarines and aircraft carriers. So that was really cool. I was just kind of looking for a little bit of a change for myself. So departed that and started 110 Marine. Got into just doing boat work, and yeah, that's where I'm at now.
That's awesome to hear, man. And when Seakeeper Ride came around and you were looking for, something to really dive into and sort of specialize in, I kind of want to hear from Justin on this. Like, Justin, what would you say is like the main problem or challenge that the ride system takes care of or is built to solve, so to speak?
Yeah, so it's all underway motion. So we classify that in three categories. That's going to be the pitch of the boat, roll of the boat, yaw of the boat, all
Okay.
underway. So that's the key aspect. All underway motion is what we're we're focused at doing it
Got
for
it.
me.
And Brandon, when you're thinking about, your specialization, like what is it about that, motion underway specialization what drew you to that specifically?
Well, what really drew me to it was I had a buddy of mine, and he said, "Hey, will you help me install this Seakeeper ride system on my boat?" And I'm like, "Man, just go fishing. You don't need that." And he said, "Well, look, I've already bought it. Can you just help me install it on my boat?" And I said, "Sure." So we did, and I took a ride on this thing once we got it installed, and man, I was just I kind of became obsessed with the product. I can't explain how well it works, how much of a change that it makes, and that in the boating world, fishing world, everybody talks about game changers, but
Hmm.
I really believe that this is just a true game changer that changes the complete attitude of your boat, kind of sparks it up, makes it come alive, and man, it's really awesome. So that's how I got into it.
Yeah, it's really tough to have this conversation and use words to describe the impact, of the ride system. And I'm speaking from very recent experience. In the last 36 hours, we did a test ride of a 35-foot boat, which we'll get into. But speaking of boat types, in your experience, Brandon, what types do they typically work on? Are there some that they don't work on, or where do you guys kind of draw the line?
Most of the boats that I've done are pretty common around the Chesapeake Bay area. I've done a handful of Parkers,
Hmm.
which they make a huge difference on, especially the cabin boats. I've done some center console boats, and both of them work just as well. With the Parkers, I've done some Tidewaters, some Sportsmans, several regulators,
Hmm.
which I really think they make those boats come alive. Done a couple CVs, a Scout. I think we've got a Carolina Classic in the works, which I'm pretty excited for. But I think the system works on all boats, and I don't think there's a specific hull type that's better or worse, for Seakeeper Ride itself.
Yeah, it almost sounds like you could kind of safely say if your boat has trim tabs on it currently, your boat's a candidate.
Absolutely.
Most definitely. And
Yeah.
it's to piggyback off kind of what Brandon said, there's not a specific hole type that it is really designed for. Like when I talk to customers, I kind of flout them like, what do you not like about your boat? There's always one thing about the boat that's kind of wonky or they don't like and stuff, even though everyone says, oh, we build the best boat. To me, the system kind of keen ins on that and takes whatever that the operator doesn't like on the boat and settles it for them. So it's
Hmm.
it's fun to have that aspect of it. And then I always break it down into new boaters and then experienced guys that have been on the water. For like new boaters, it makes you look like a tramp. Like no one teaches you how when you buy a boat, no one sits there and says, oh, this is how the trim tab
Yeah.
system works, this, that, and the other. You put rye on your boat, you're out there, you look like an all-star. Whereas like the more experienced guys out there, you really get to dial the boat in. Like I like to
Hmm.
use the regulator crowd that Brandon hit on. Like that's been our biggest refit boat, and a lot of those guys are salty guys, and that boat has its little quirks, but it's a badass boat all around. You put ride on it, and it turns it into just an absolute battle wagon, and you get to use it how it's designed to
Yeah.
be used.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really been cool to experience a before and after, firsthand and see so many problems that it solves for you. And then, really kind of relaxes your operator efforts in the sense of like, all you have to focus on now is throttle and navigation and your steering wheel, and everything else is as good as it could possibly be in terms of the attitude adjustment. And a lot of folks don't know this, but like, you don't really have like a class or a school when you buy a boat that teaches you optimal trimming, positions between motor trim and trim tabs. And it can be a pretty steep learning curve depending on if your boat's actually fitted with the right tabs versus not, versus the actual like, understanding the relationship as you make those adjustments. And it just takes all that guesswork away, which I think is awesome.
I will say our real quick to interrupt, our best sales tool. My boss says it all the time. He's like, we can get rid of the sales guy because you get someone on the boat and it's basically a done deal. Because it's like they watch the videos, they hear people talk about it, they see our demos and everything, and then they're like, "Can I get on a boat?" I'm like, "Sign the check now." Like, it's over.
No, that makes a ton of sense. It's truly like a seeing is believing, and I'll put myself in that category where Brandon was, as far as like, man, just get in your boat and go fishing. Like, my boss, who we just did this to his boat when he was first looking at it. A friend of mine, Eric Heath, who has this beautiful Southern Cross that he is, custom built from the ground up. He was talking about doing them on his boat, and I kind of said what Brandon said. I'm like, man, I've got my old Mako. I can trim this thing and, it rides great, and in my head, it's like, I don't need a computer to come along and, drive my boat for me essentially. Well, he put it on his boat. And as you know, a Southern Cross has a very like moderate, almost no dead rise. It's like 14 degrees, and it's great in any sort of big seas in the sense of stability. But when you try to drive across that stuff, you take a beating. It's almost like a Carolina skiff. Well, we would literally choose whose boat to fish based on the conditions. So if it was a 2 to 3 foot chop day, we're on my boat, the Mako, because we know that we can beat the chop and get out to the fishing grounds. It's calm. We're going to take his boat. Well, you go and put that ride system on, which he did, and we went on our first ride on that thing, and I just could not believe that it was riding better than my Mako through that chop because of the ride system. And previously, you just took it on the nose the whole way, jarring your whole body through your knees, up through your backbone and everything. You felt it. Which we're kind of highlighting this, but like I do want to hear it from your perspective, Justin, 3 years in the business. What would you say high level, really is the biggest difference between a Seakeeper ride system and your traditional trim tab system?
Yeah, so I kind of break it down into two components to answer that question. So there's the autonomous side of it, whereas where it's completely autonomous. There's one less thing you're worrying about being the boat operator. You're focused on driving, navigating the boat. Everyone around you is going to be safer on board. And the way we're doing it is we're taking 1,000 measurements a second, 100 adjustments every second. So we're essentially beating the wave motion to the boat, or I shouldn't say essentially, we are. We're making that adjustment before everything else. Whereas if you're traditional trim tabs, that's all on you. That's on the operator. And if you can, I call it playing the piano. If you can play your fingers that fast, like you should be some kind of Olympic athlete
Yeah.
to be me. And then all the other,
Very well said.
Yeah.
yeah. And then with the other systems that are out there, they're more of a trim system, and you still have to put in a good amount of user input to use
Hmm.
those systems. But really, at the end of the day, it boils down to speed. Like I always say, speed kills. You always hear that saying, and that's what we're doing. We're
Hmm.
strictly through the speed of everything.
Yeah, you hit on something there too that is important, and that's the safety factor. I can tell you from personal experience, I've gotten injured on a boat before where the boat hits a wave. We're into a weird sea, and the boat hits the wave while I'm trying to walk to the back to maybe pull some bait out to start thawing, and next thing you know, I'm on my ass on the bottom of the boat, and I got my feet taken out from underneath me. So thinking about safety is another big and important factor to consider, with the system because. Um, you've got an elderly person on board or several people or small children that's not, got their sea legs. I should have had my sea legs by then, but I didn't, obviously. Um, and then, you talk about those real-time adjustments, like what is making that work? I mean, 1,000 readings per second and 100 adjustments per second, like that's hard to conceptualize,
Yeah.
but how is that actually happening?
So we have a software module that's getting mounted up in the helm of the boat, and that's getting fed. Our proprietary inertial sensing software is in there, so all that's getting calculated in there. We're pulling speed over ground as well, and that's all going through our software module, and then going to the back of the boat to actually make the real time adjustments. And real quick to circle back about the safety thing about it is there's so many leisure boaters out there that it's the wife and the kids love to be up in the bow of the boat. And we've all been in those scenarios where you get in some chop and it gets scary up there, it gets bouncy. And we like to put people up there on demos sometimes, and they're like they're looking at us like, I don't know about this. And it's you put them up there and you get the head turns, the wife's like, oh, we need this, and you're like, all right, we're golden.
Yeah, you win the wife over, you win, you win
Oh yeah.
everything.
Oh, if the
Uh,
wife gets on the boat, it's over. It's usually a done deal at that rate.
and then, you're talking about these readings and all that makes sense. So like, high level, there are essentially things that the ride system can do that you simply cannot do on a traditional trim tab boat.
Yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
and I think you just kind of made a point there that you said this thing's making sense, but it doesn't make sense to make 1,000 calculations per second and 100
Right.
movements per second. It's impossible for a human to do that,
Right.
which is what's so impressive and so cool about this system, that this thing's always working all the time, um, mindlessly for the operator.
Right.
And that's so cool because it's amazing how much of a difference it really makes.
Yeah, and we'll get into the technical specs soon, but I think an important thing for people that are right now in their brains going 100 movements per second,
It's
once you
crazy.
understand that it's only a 1 inch travel, you can really start to understand we're talking about millimeter size adjustments at a time, and those micro adjustments are in fact dramatically improving the attitude of the boat over water, which kind of gets us into,
You hit it. You hit it. Like a lot of the times, if you watch like our system in real time or out of the water, there's times where it's moving so little, but we're also doing it at a tenth of a second, which is like that's hard to conceptualize and
yeah,
which is pretty impressive. And I'll give it up to our marketing team. I think it was 2 years ago now, down at the Fort Lauderdale boat show. They made signs in the men's bathroom. I don't know if they were in the women's bathroom, but it says 1 inch is all that matters. And it was like the talk, the show, like people would walk by us, like, that's great advertisement there. I'm like, yeah, that's good.
upgrade your waterfront with Killer Doc's premium dock furniture, built to last a lifetime in marine conditions. Crafted from marine grade aluminum with a protective anti corrosion coating, it's tough enough to handle the elements while providing unmatched comfort. Featuring sunbrella cushions with fast drying, removable covers, our furniture stays securely in place even in storms. Choose from cabanas, club chairs, love seats, tables, and more to create your perfect dockside retreat. Durability meets elegance at Killer Dock. Check out the full collection at killerdock.com today. Pure Flat slick lures are tried, true, and guide approved. Slick lures catch big speckled trout, redfish, flounder, and more. You can cast them a mile, and they produce a highly erratic bait fish imitation with a twitching retrieve. The tournament winning slick has helped many anglers set personal best records. Whether you're fishing the OG slick, the smaller profile slick junior, or the versatile lil slick, one is sure to find that unforgettable thump we're all after. Visit your local tackle retailer or pureflats.com for your favorite color and rigging combination. Go sling some slicks today. You can't catch 'em on the sofa. Hooked on fishing? Then you're part of the local community that Long Bay Point Bait and Tackle cares about serving and giving back to, providing you with the right selection for each season's target species. They're your one-stop shop to gear up with the best bait, tackle, and insider tips to catch your next trophy fish. You can fuel up right out front on the water and then chat with the crew inside for hot tips on where they're biting. So swing by today. Long Bay Point Bait and Tackle, where your fishing adventures start and finish with your trophy catch on their scales. All right. Well, I think we broke the internet with the marketing 1 inch joke. So my whole computer crashed. It was laughing so hard. But that is pretty genius marketing on their end. And again, it just kind of puts in perspective how well thought out the engineering is. And I've heard you say that before several times, Justin, that like you guys aren't really like quote unquote boat building people. You're much more like engineers. And you said something to me early on when we were talking about this, that where the technology is derived from has something to do with like aircraft flight control systems or something like that. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I can't. I don't know too much about it, but yeah, no, that's kind of where it got based off of, was taking some aerospace technology and converting it over to the marine side of everything. So the our engineering team, they're awesome. Like I hit on that earlier with you. It's like there's days people call me that they get the wow moment of everything, and it's like I wish I could page them right down to those guys, because it's like the engineering team, the applications team, our test captains, like those are the guys that are out there every day solving all the issues, figuring it all out, making the sales team look great, making Seakeeper look great as a whole. So, but yeah, no, a lot of it came from the aerospace side. I don't know too much other than that, I know we put our own spin on it. That's what made it proprietary. So
Yeah.
it's a little outside my pay grade, I will say. So
Well, I think, Brandon, when you and I were, doing the sea trial on Saturday, you kind of walked me through the different components that make up the input, so to speak, and talk us through that. So there's a couple different things that take in data or sense
Yeah,
data.
so it starts with the stern of the boat. You have your controllers, and those are the motors that operate the system that goes up and down. Those come in and meet to what they call a distribution module, which is mounted in the stern of the boat. Each controller is wired into that, as well as a power cable,
Hmm.
and then you have a NEMA cable that travels forward into the console, which goes to a software module. And at that point, that software module is the computer and the brain of the Seakeeper RIDE system. Um, and that is telling the controllers what to do
Got it.
based on its movement.
And that's what was you were explaining to me, kind of takes in input from your boat's GPS system, which gives it like that ground uh, speed over ground data, plus sensing. You know, I'm going to get these terminologies all wrong, so feel free to make fun of me. But you said something about like it's pitch and roll, and then something in yaw.
yeah, so it's pitch, roll, and yaw,
Okay.
and then as well as so the coordinated turning feature, which you guys definitely got to experience. I don't know if we're gonna hit on that later, but
Yeah.
you have that aspect of it, and then our list level control as well. So like everyone's used to the ADD person on the boat or something. There's always someone on the boat that cannot sit still, and with
Yeah.
traditional trim tabs, you're telling people don't move.
Hmm.
Whereas like you can put people on boats. You can shift the weight to one side. Like we do that during when we do have our demo boat. We'll put as many people to one side, and you'll list that boat over. You give it about anywhere from about 3 to 5 seconds, and you just watch the bow of the boat, or like there's a cleat up front, and you can stare at that cleat, and you'll just see it walk its way right back up to the keel of the boat. So that's the big components of it, and what we're
Yeah.
after solving for everybody. So like even like if you ice, like if you get a big fish and that's on one side, or you're iced down on one side, you got a lot of fuel on one side. Like a lot of guys have that issue of running kind of
Lopsided.
listing, yeah,
Yeah.
because of what's going on.
You got that big bluefin tuna sitting back there for the ride
Yeah,
home, and it's listing
yeah,
you to one side. I'm sitting here thinking about every cobia charter captain out there who's dealing with the running and out and between fishing grounds where you've got your 4 or 5 people downstairs who don't understand a boat. And like you're saying, the ADD walking around. And when you're downstairs and that boat pitches, 12, 13 degrees to the port side, you don't really feel it. But when you're in a tower and that boat pitches 12, 13 degrees, you immediately clutch something because you feel like you're about to get, pitched out. So I feel like if I'm a charter captain right now who runs, cobia trips and I'm listening to this, I'm probably thinking like, okay, how soon can I fit a Seakeeper ride into my, near-term budget? Because that would be a game changer alone to not have to yell. I've personally like screamed at people like, get in the middle, because I feel like I'm about to go in, and sometimes it does create a safety concern if you're in difficult seas and people aren't paying attention, it can create an issue. And we've had boats capsize in the bay, many times.
yeah.
Um,
You even like for a charter guy, like you guys got people on the boat that may have never been on the boat before, and it just makes the overall experience for them a lot better. And then to hit on this is I got to give the New Jersey guys a shout out. They like to, if you're familiar with how they fish up there, they're tuna fish. The guys at tuna fish, the big thing is jigging and popping up there. And it's like, to me, it's running and gunning. Like they're following the school of fish, and like you'll see guys video, there's somebody up on the bow ready to cast right into them. And you watch the videos with the guys with ride on it, and there's someone just planted right at the bow of the boat, and they're not like they're hanging on, but you could tell the sea condition and what's going on out there could be someone could get hurt up there.
oh yeah, it
I
makes
think it's important to keep in mind too that a boat was designed to run at an even keel. So
right.
when she's landing into the waves and falling into the waves, that V, whatever it is, whether it be moderate or deep, is designed to cut through that water. And when you have people on one side, and the boat is listing or laying over on one side, it's essentially landing on a flat surface, which makes kind of your bangs and beat you up a little bit. So that's something to keep in mind as well. And the Seakeeper definitely corrects that.
In your opinion, Brandon, having done so many installs and then felt the before and after, talk to me about the differences between like a head, a following, and a quartering C in terms of like how a boat traditionally performs versus how it performs in those same conditions with the ride system.
I think the easiest way to maybe, explain that right out of the gate, and again, it goes back to it's really hard to use words to describe the system if you have not ridden on one, but it's 10 times better than what a traditional trim tab scenario would give you. And it just rides out really, really well. And in any sea, I think, if you're side two on a lot of boats that maybe didn't do so well in side two, it corrects that and keeps that boat very, very true,
Hmm.
um, as well as a head and a following sea. Um, and with that, I think it also provides a drier boat in a lot of scenarios where
Yeah.
the chines and or they're just throwing water like they were designed to throw and keep it off the boat a little bit better as well.
Yeah, what you're saying there makes so much sense, and that's exactly what I experienced in that, sea trial was like if you've got a quartering sea coming into you, so many times, the position of the boat coming off of the back of that last wave leaves you in a disadvantaged position entering that next wave that a lot of times you feel is that big punch slap on that front, starboard quarter that just jars the whole boat. I mean, I've had
Yeah.
times where I felt like I'm like, did the boat just break, because it hit so hard? And with the ride system, it's like it enters with that knife edge in the most, advantageous position possible to really just split that wave and let the boat slide right on through. In fact, the terminology that my boss kept using was just it was just so soft and mushy. Like coming down on the backside where you're expecting that hit was just so soft and mushy, and I think that that explains it pretty well. And you mentioned CV, Parker, um, Regulator. Regulator really caught my attention because, those boats are traditionally known for being these, amazing riding boats. So maybe, a story time, if you will, of like the Regulator guy. Like what was his before and after experience like for a Regulator?
So, I'll just use an example that the one of my regulator guys came to me and he just wanted to troll a motor and some electronics upgrades. And I said, man, you really ought to think about a Seakeeper. Um, and he considered it and came through with it and said, let's go ahead and do it. So we installed this system on a 28, and that boat, I don't know, and Justin may be able to speak to this, but there may be some sort of like 70% improvement on ride on that. And I think they have some data on that. But it's amazing how much that system changes that boat. Um, one of his big things is he fishes out of Oregon Inlet a lot. He fishes out of Virginia Beach, and when he's following or coming out of the inlet following the bigger charter boats, which typically plane out a little bit slower than what that boat typically
Right.
does, 22, 24 knots, he's able to kind of pin that system down, and that boat is leveled out and landing as the boat was designed. And the boat it just becomes an animal, and
Hmm.
it is an absolute workhorse. Um, that's an amazing platform to say the least.
You've
But
you've
really, really big improvement with that boat.
you've used the terminology ride out several times, and I feel like uh, an idiot asking because maybe I should know this. But when you say a boat rides out, what is it that you're actually saying?
It's hard to explain. I think there are some boats that ride okay. There's some boats that ride good, and there's some boats that ride out. And when you get to that ride out point, you've reached you've reached what you want to reach. You're winning.
the pinnacle of boat
Absolutely.
attitude and
Yes, sir.
operational excellence and performance. Yeah, I kind of get what you're saying now, and I can, attest to that after the sea trial, because prior to the Seakeeper ride system, we had the traditional tabs, and this is a 35-foot 1994 Marlin 350 SF, and the boat's top end in 1 foot chop was about 52.5 to 53 miles an hour. And that was because in order to keep the bow down, because of these heavy 350s in the back, you had to trim the tabs all the way down and trim the motors all the way down, which limits its RPM potential. And so what we experienced together was that combination of having the ride system in automatic mode while adjusting the sort of manual start position. And I talked to somebody about this earlier today. It's like, well, what does that mean? It's like, okay, well, if you're in fully automatic and 0 inches and 1 inches are the top and bottom of your range. When you adjust the manual hybrid start position, it's like you're starting from 2 out of 10, meaning that 2% or 2 out of 10 tab is already down, which is keeping that nose really locked. And then from that locked position, it's still auto adjusting for the pitch and roll and yaw. And man, we watched that boat start going faster and faster. And then you said, hey, go ahead and start trimming those motors up. And we watched that RPM start releasing. And next thing you know, we're going 58 miles an hour. So that's a 5 mile an hour improvement in top end speed.
And I'm not sure we were able to trim it up all the way, um, in that instance, but
Right.
it was a huge improvement. And you made a good point there about the controls and being able to um, set your level at how you want this ride to perform. And while you say, auto versus manual mode, you can manually control this system to ride bow down if you want, but it will still continuously work in
Hmm.
auto mode. And that's another thing. That's probably one of the biggest things that um, one of my favorite things about the system is that you could bury that bow, but it's still going to operate as the system does 100 times a second. It's calculating everything, but it's doing it within the parameters you tell it to do. And
Yeah.
that's
And
really cool.
I
I
can come
want,
in and kind of clean that up for you guys, I guess, real quick.
yeah, please
That's what
help
I mean.
us. Please
Yeah.
help
Yeah,
us.
no worries. So what you were talking about is our whole shot control that we have the
Yeah.
ability to help you get like that's pretty impressive. You'll take some boats that have a huge bow rise, knock that completely out, and it makes it safer. Like
Hmm.
there's people, unfortunately, I'm a bigger guy. I'm 6'1", so I don't usually have that, but there's smaller people out there who are driving boats. I know people are probably going to hate on me for saying that, but they're looking for the horizon where it's like we have the ability to keep it down. And then, like you said, you have the ability to go in and that's called our trim command curve. So you have the ability to go, it's a usable feature that you can go in and mess with it, really dial your boat in. Like it comes out of the box with a standard, but you can go in and mess with that to get your optimal getting on plane angle, I would say. And
Yeah.
then within that, when it's in auto and making all the corrections, we call it user bias. You get to put in, so you can bring your bow down,
Ah,
heel the boat over as you're running. So you can do that either through the MFD or the keypad. So you kind of have the ability. You still have that sensation of like running trim tabs, but it's not full trim. Like you're not really putting in that user input. Like you're putting it in there. The system's like, all right, this is our new attitude we want to run at. We're going to be making all the adjustments off this attitude. And then
right.
if you do want to, you can slap it in manual mode and run it like traditional tabs. But I
Why
think,
would you?
yeah, I also think I can count on one hand how many times someone's
It's
said
it's
that.
it's so funny you say that, because one of the discussions that my boss and I were having this morning, we were like, why is there even a manual mode available? So I actually went and researched it because I was curious, and there really are two primary reasons. So I'm gonna say what I saw, and then Justin, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, go
Number
for it.
one was you've got to have that manual ability for the install process, and there's a calibration process where you have to manually travel them all the way down and up to ensure that they're functioning properly. And then the software checks it and goes, yep, that's good. That's one reason. And then the second was basically just like a sort of safety backup in the off chance that there was ever a software failure and the automatic functions weren't available. You'd want to be able to at least still manually provide yourself some tab for operations.
Hit the nail on the head.
yes, I score.
Yeah.
We win. No, and what was such a cool, the high speed impact is really the most, I would say, fun, feeling when you get out there to be going 58 miles an hour and feel like you could like do a cha-cha slide on the back of the boat and not lose your balance, right? But what was really exciting to see, what really, made my boss's eyes light up, Justin, we were planing at 17 miles an hour in a 35-foot boat.
Oh, I believe
That
it.
was really impressive.
Like that's we couldn't believe it. I think before the speed for planing was like 24, 25 miles an hour. So that's a huge difference to be able to just like for cobia fishing when you're like going from spot to spot and you want to fish a little faster, a lot of times you're just digging and you can hear those RPMs and the engines are bogged. So to be able to be up in a slow, sort of plane and move that much quicker and still be level is just such a huge advantage. Going down a rabbit hole there, but that was just worth mentioning that that's another subtle adjustment that you get with the ride system in addition to.
And I think that's really cool. And I think that's important on, when you're coming out of these inlets in rough water, um, you're obviously not going to go fast against these cresting waves in shallow water. So, that's a huge advantage, of being able to plane out really slow, coming out of these big inlets and nasty water.
Oh yeah. And having like what Justin was saying, eyes on the horizon the whole time. That was one of the first things that
Absolutely.
he picked up in the sea trial. He was like, "Whoa, I've never gotten on a plane before where I could see the horizon the whole time. Normally you're blinded by the bow, which if you're coming out of Lynnhaven in the summertime or you're leaving like the Narrows headed through Broad Bay, there's a lot of transitions between, slow no wake and full speed areas where when it's busy, trying to get that boat on plane can be a real, nail biting experience. And so having that view the whole time can be
And just to give you a
huge.
visual on that, you've got to keep in mind, a 35-foot boat like the Marlin that we just did. Um, there's 20 foot of bow, 25 foot of bow, ahead of the console. So there's a lot up there, that if it's raised up, a foot or two would really block that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I wanted to transition into the actual install process. And I'm sure some of the guys that have trim tabs like myself, like an older Mako, one of the first things that crosses my mind when I look at pictures of these things installed is like, I've got trim tab pockets. So I'm immediately thinking, well, how am I going to put this on a flat surface back there when I've got these deep pockets that exist? So talk us through that. How do you guys overcome that in the install process at 110 Marine?
I think I'll let Justin start with what Seakeeper has available, and then I'll go on after that.
Yeah, absolutely. Luke, you hit the nail on the head. When I first started, that was our biggest, I would say one of our biggest hurdles we had to get over was trim tap pockets. And you look at some of these bigger boats that we're getting on now, um, it's it is what it is. Like we need the flat surface to mount to, but so our applications engineering team looked or listened to the sales team as that was our big hurdle to get over with a lot of customers. So they all put their brains together, got to work, and we've come up with 3D pocket fillers. So we've been able to go around and scan 3D scan pockets to make pocket fillers. So we have several different. We don't have every boat out there right now. Like
Right.
I know we got Grady White, Sea Hunt, Socobias. Like we're slowly building our portfolio up to get a lot of those pocket fillers. But it's and we understood also being on the sales staff is not a lot of guys. People doing fiberglass work now is it's few and far between. So shout
Yeah.
out to all the guys that still do it but they have the ability. They've kind of in a sense monopolized the market. Like there might be one or two guys that can actually do it. In that particular area, and it's whatever the cost is, it is. And
Right.
we realized that that was a driving factor in getting the system on that they were getting the quote for the fiberglass work and like, whoa, I got to spend this much more just to fill the pockets in. So we've been able to bring that in house, been able to lower the cost on it. So it's really helped our dealers and the end user out that they didn't think it was feasible or pricing wasn't working out
Yeah.
right, that it made it work. And then I can pass over to Brandon on his side of it because he was here when we didn't have the pocket fillers, and now that we do have the pocket fillers, so he's gotten to see kind of the progression of it.
Yeah, that's a great solution.
Yeah, and I guess my take on it is, you got guys that are budget friendly and they want maybe the little bit less expensive option, which would be his pocket fillers are a little bit cheaper than the labor involved in doing a full fiberglass job on your transom as well as a gel coat match and
Hmm.
color match and all those things. But at the same time, you have guys who come out and say, "Hey, I want this boat to look like the factory, and I want these pockets filled up, and I don't want anybody to know that the boat ever had pockets, and I want the Seakeeper ride on here." One of my favorite jobs that I did was on it's a 25 game fisherman. So a blue sea hunt with a dark blue, beautiful gel coat. And we filled those pockets with Kusa, um, and we glass those into his hull. We color match the gel coat, and the job just turned out just so beautiful. The pockets were essentially deleted, and the Seakeeper ride added, and it was a major improvement to the boat.
I know the boat you're talking about, and that job really does look beautiful.
Oh
And
man, it was great.
kind of
Yeah, I
leads me
was about
to,
to shout Brandon out for that before you even got to it. You sent me a picture of it, and I was like, you look at the boat and you think it literally popped out of the factory like that.
right. Yeah. And that was going to be my question. Like, Brandon, where did you get your sort of drive for excellence and craftsmanship and quality control? Where does that come from in your life as a craftsman and a subject matter expert? Who instilled that in you, or where did you learn that?
In a sense, I'd like to credit some of that to my time with working with the subcontractor main industries. Something that we really led on was first time quality.
Hmm.
Um, but I kind of started out doing boat work, somewhat of a hobbyist, if you will, and doing projects for myself, doing restorations for myself. And I like to look at every project that I do as if it was mine. How would I want it? How would I want it done? Um, and what's right is right, and what's wrong is wrong.
Hmm.
And I try to give the best product that I'm capable of giving. Um, and that boat with the gel coat was a little bit of a challenge to match. But I kind of had some fun with it, and I'm like, oh no, I'm not gonna stop until this thing is perfect.
Yeah.
And it's one of my proudest jobs. So
Yeah.
that was really cool.
Yeah, no, it came out looking real sharp, and I can say from my experience, I'm a little bit of a hobbyist in terms of like I'll fix things. My buddies all know that like if it comes to wiring or electronics or something like that, I can kind of, tuck my head under the hood and maybe make some things work. And so
Sure.
for me, the way that I judge quality of workmanship is a person's 4,200 bead line that they leave behind around anything that gets installed. And when I got under the boat back there to look at those three new Lumitech lights that you installed and saw absolutely pristine 4,200 beads all the way around with no dribble, no nothing, I went, there's a man that gives, a lot of care into his work. But that's cool to hear about like your previous, experience. And I know I heard you mention your dad too, and you kind of made a joke about, whenever we make a mistake in doing anything, that's the sort of thing that'll leave you a little bit smarter. So that's cool to hear.
That's what my old man used to say. When you mess up on something or make a mistake, just like you said, he'd come back to me, and it was the hardest way. He'd say, "Well, son, you're a little bit smarter now," and it's something I'll never forget. And I think it's a great way of looking at things. I kind of live by that, so
Yeah,
we
that's
can
good.
always be just a little bit smarter, right?
Absolutely.
It's okay to make a mistake, and you just come past it and move forward. So
Yep. What you learn from is
try to do.
what defines you.
No
Um,
doubt.
And if I'm a boat owner, and whether it's an older boat or a new boat, or I'm planning to buy a boat, Justin or Brandon, whoever wants to chime in here, what sort of things should I sort of plan for or prep for if I'm planning to do a Seakeeper ride system? What are some of those key things I should be considering and preparing for?
For the new boat side, I would say do your research. There are so many boat brands out there that Ride is being offered on now. So if that's something you want on your boat, you can kind of, as you're looking at sheets or brands, you can, and it's like, this is something I want on the boat because it's a standard piece of equipment for those manufacturers. So it's coming
Hmm.
standard on the boat. So you can really say it's like, oh, this brand doesn't have it. You can kind of check them off the list and narrow your search down by brands right there. And our website actually can help you do that. You can go on there and there's a tab that shows you every brand, every boat that's offered with Ride, I would say.
Nice.
And then refit side of things, it gets a little bit more complicated because it boils down to transom real estate at the end of the day, or what we have to work with. Because there's a very few boats that it just can't work. There's, unless you want to do some major work, but guys are okay doing it. But the big things would be if you have trim tab pockets, like we mentioned before, they're going to need to be filled in. There are certain trim tabs that we're able to work with, I would say, certain style of holes. Like I know the CVs, the yellowfins, they have these big K-plane pockets on there, but we can use that existing pocket because the tab is not recessed in there. It's really just the piston that's there. So
Ah,
you can use that one. You got to be a little bit more visual with, I would say, that like those big wider pockets. Whereas like your Grady Whites, your Sea Hunts, like they have the piston pocket, the tab recesses under the boat. So like you're gonna need to get that all closed in. Other side of it is the electronicals, or the electronic side of it, because we do need a compatible MFD, and that's all for the commissioning part of the process. And the system is designed to run through your MFD. So if you want to make those adjustments, there's the optional keypad, but you can run it straight off your MFD screen. You don't need to have it pulled up the whole time. But say you want to bring that bow down, heel the boat over, we just need to make sure your MFD is compatible.
yeah. That was one of the cool parts of, from the first time we talked and I sent you pictures of the boat, you were able to just eyeball the transom and go, "Yep, we can install it here. This is about where it's going to go. You're just going to need to relocate these, underwater lights," which, 110 and Brandon were able to do effortlessly. And then knowing that about the MFD is a good point to kind of like pause on. So, did I hear you correctly that we do need to have an MFD with a compatible network in order to commission it, meaning run the calibration, get the system set up and operational?
Yeah, yeah. So like for example, I'll use Garmin. Like if it's one helm compatible, our app will pop up there. You can, it's good to go. You just got to make sure you got the latest software and you're good to go. But there is like our website that's all on there. If you get in contact with one of the sales reps, that's usually something we ask. They're like, hey, what MFD do you have? Oh, I got a Furuno, I got a Ray Marine, I got this. And it's like, all right, you're good. Or hey man, you can't, but you can either upgrade your electronics, and some people are like, oh, I was going to do it anyways. You're like, perfect. Or we push a lot of people to, it's called a Garmin TD50 display. I'm not getting paid by them to tell you this, but it's a little
Shout
five-inch,
out Garmin.
yeah, a little 5-inch display that guys will pop in, that you can run the system off of.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I think Justin, you remember we did a 28 regulator
Yep.
where we installed the system, had everything plugged up, go to commission it, and sure enough, the units were a little bit out of date. I think they were. I'm not sure what exactly they were, but anyway, we needed to add the TD50, and that saved him replacing him. $20,000 worth of electronics. He had two big 16-inch screens on that boat. We were able to add in that TD50, which operated the Seakeeper RIDE and communicated it to that, and we're able to get through with the system. So it worked
Th-
well.
That is one of the cool things about the system that I really enjoyed seeing it once we got it going was you set up one of the combo charts where you've got your sonar in the bottom left. We had the chart over on the right, the navigational or relief, whatever you want. And then we had another segment for just the ride system. So for me, it was really exciting to watch visually as you're getting the readouts of what the controllers are doing in the back of the boat, and then simultaneously feel those adjustments impacting how the boat rides. So that to me is one of the cool things about it is where you go to the keypad or the MFD, and you make the adjustments, and then you're watching those adjustments happen in real time and then feeling the impact, which I thought was exceptional.
I will say that was a big request by the people that when we first came out, our screen didn't have that. It was, you would see the bow of the boat and then the side of the boat, like if you were to heel it over or bring it down. And then when we first came out with it, people were like, I want to see what it's doing. I want to see what it's doing. And then it always comes back to the engineers back there. We're like, hey, this is what the people want. And they're like, give us a few months. We'll figure it out for you guys. So I
It
know
really it really is remarkable to think about how many things are happening in real time, but you kind of have to go back to like the speed of like networking and gigabit a second, capabilities across the network, broken down. It's almost like the speed of light, which I've always explained to people is like they're like, "Well, how fast is that?" I'm like, "Picture you're standing on the equator and you throw a baseball at the speed of light all the way around the globe. Before you can blink, that ball's gone around the globe and hit you in the back of the hand. Like that's how fast the speed of light is. And so knowing that all this stuff is happening faster than our eyes can even process is kind of mind-boggling. And back
And
to
I
what
believe Justin can attest to this, but as far as I know, I think the Seakeeper system, as far as NEMA goes, is operating faster than most Garmin or Simrad networks,
yeah.
which is pretty incredible to me. That's neat.
in terms of time, what's the average install time? So if I call up 110 Marine, get in touch with you and Justin, hey, do you guys have this in stock? Here's my boat. It's a, 28-foot game fish or whatever the case it might be. From the time we first make contact to the time I put, pen to paper and send you a deposit check, what's the
Sure.
average install time?
I would say, when you call me, um, depending on workload and what I've got going on in the shop, I do have a smaller shop. It's 2 bays, and I'm very customer, I guess, related experience. So um, it typically takes 2 weeks from a call to get the system in and to get it installed on the boat.
Okay.
Now, if I'm backed up a little bit, obviously that would go out, 2 weeks beyond that.
So
Uh,
the time that I bring my boat, from the time I bring my boat to you, let's say we've got all the paperwork done, we've figured out, maybe I needed pockets, maybe I didn't. I need two keypads for an upstairs station. Get all the logistics figured out. The time that the boat hits the bay door till the time that we're ready for sea trial, how long is that time period on average?
a week to 2 weeks.
Okay, that's quick. That was much quicker than I expected when I first contacted you. Just from my experiences with like boat customizations in the past, I've built two different towers. I've repowered a boat twice, and typically in my brain, whenever I give somebody my boat to get something custom done to it, in my mind, I'm like, all right, I'm realistically braced for 2 to 3 or 9 months. So I
You
was
see,
like
you
so
see that out
relieved.
there. I that's something that I take a little bit of pride in, and I like to. My word is my word. And when you drop something off, if I say it's going to be 2 weeks, that's going to be the max.
Yeah.
If you get it back a week earlier, then two thumbs up. But yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And this kind of segues into something that, is important to kind of ask the question like, I'm sure anybody out there could install the system if they, tried enough times. But, 110 Marine is a certified installer. So, like, what does that mean for the customer? Justin, what does that mean for me as a customer working with a certified installer versus Joey on Facebook Marketplace who says he can install them? What are the advantages to me as a consumer working with a certified installer?
Yeah, so there's a process or an onboarding process all of our dealers go through. They have to take training and everything. And then usually their first install, myself, or we have FTRs, which are field technical rep, we'll usually try to show up, give you our hand on the first one because there's things that we know that can kind of you can not cut a corner, but like it's like, oh, if you have one guy wiring, one guy gluing, like you cut your time in half right there. Certain things like that. And then ultimately it's you're gonna have the backing of Seakeeper as a whole. Like we're gonna stand behind behind our product. Like we're gonna throw everything we got at it to make sure the customer's happy. Like we're not gonna just there's other companies out there. If you have problems, they're just going to go back to the dealer, back to the dealer. Like we're going to try to troubleshoot it through the dealer. Then once it gets to a certain point, you're going to get the whole workshop getting thrown at it. So
Nice.
I would say the big thing. Like we're gonna stand behind it and make sure you're happy with our product. So that's from the top down. That everyone that I know, that you'll get calls on the weekends about stuff, or friends of friends of like, hey, I got this question. It's like some stuff I can handle, some stuff I can't.
Hmm.
It's really ultimately at the end of the day, you get this whole Seakeeper support.
Yeah, and I see that as a big advantage because unlike some other products that are out there where maybe you've got the middleman that buys the product that's being created, but the actual creators are still somewhere else in the world. Like in this case, Seakeeper is the manufacturer, the engineering, the brains, you guys, it's all right there. So it's just one layer past that certified installer. So I know as a consumer, I'm protected that if I have any issue at all between Brandon and 110 and you guys, I should be able to get my problem solved or my question answered.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and it also helps our team out. Like if there's times where customers have uncovered stuff that it's like, oh, all right, like thank you for bringing this to our attention. We're gonna go to work and figure this out.
One thing you said a second ago about, hey, you have one guy wiring and one guy gluing. That kind of, I want to ask Brandon this question because it blew my mind when you're like, yeah, this is how they go on the back of your boat. Like, talk us through how the Seakeeper ride actually attaches to the back of the boat because this blew my mind when you showed me.
So the Seakeeper ride is glued on entirely. There are three screws that are penetrated about half inch to your stern that are solely designed to hold the system on during the curing process of the glue. Um, Glues, most of the glues are Plexus based or MMA based. There are a couple epoxy options. Uh, West System 610 is one of them. But yeah, you glue this system on and you tighten these three screws, and once that glue cures, that is this whole provider of the adhesion to your boat of the entire system.
Yeah,
Um, and
that
I have not had a problem um, with, I don't know, 15 20 installs. So
that's crazy to me.
uh,
It blew my mind. I mean, I was just picturing how much
really
force,
impressed.
yeah, like how much
Well,
force is being applied. Justin, I don't know if you've ever gotten to like bend the ear of an engineer and be like, guys, really? You
No,
thought
no,
that?
yeah, no, I have. It's the funniest part is you get to boat shows and we have a mock transom that shows the system, and people are asking how, and you say it's glued on. People are like they can't wrap their head around it. They sit there and challenge you about it. They're like, oh, that was it Elmer's glue? It's like no, no, like this is some real high tech stuff. But I know through that portion of testing, way like when they first came up with Ride, that was, and through the whole process is they basically tested everything that was out on the market, and they found ultimately the reason they went with glue. I'm I'm almost certain, but they found the through bolts were shearing before the glue was. So
Oh,
everyone,
interesting.
yeah, so everyone thinks it's like, oh, like why not through bolt these? It's like we found out that through bolting was shearing before the glue was in all of our tests. Like we have these test tanks that we're constantly running to really figure out what the best
Yeah.
system. We were purposely ripping them off the back of boats so we knew what would happen.
Well,
and the neat way that it's designed is that there's an actual seal plate that is the part that gets glued onto the transom. Um, so where the motor and the rest of the system mounts, you're still able to let's say there were to be a motor failure, which I've not seen one yet. You could still pull that motor off and replace it.
ah,
Where regardless of the glue, the seal plate would stay on, but the rest of the system is operational
got
for
it.
maintenance.
So that's kind of just like the foundational like base plate that gets glued on, and then
Absolutely.
everything functional attaches to that. And as you were talking about it, Justin, I'm picturing because I have installed a swim ladder. I have installed underwater lights, and I have seen, even with my swim ladder, the pressure of getting up and down on that, the inside of my boat where those washers are, I have seen them start to break down some of that fiberglass. So thinking about the strength of glue across the entire, every single square inch of that base plate and the strength that it provides, plus not having that many additional penetrations all the way through your hull is kind of a net win because you're not punching more holes in your boat and you're getting the entire structural integrity of that whole surface area as opposed to just, maybe two bolts with these giant washers on the backside.
Yeah, no, Brandon hit it pretty well. It's like that that transom plate is that's the only thing that's going to be attached to the boat. There's one if you need to put a through hole through the boat, it's one for a cable gland. So it's not like that's not doing. Obviously, you're still drilling through, but
Hmm.
outside of that, and then you also hit on basically that you build the system back from the back of the boat going forward. So it's like you get the transom plate, you get a wedge pack, which helps get the degree of the boat because we want to be flush with the bottom of the running surface. So there's that. Then it gets sealed, and then there's an actuator, and that gets sealed, and then there's the actual blade that's in the water.
Hmm. Yeah. And that blade has kind of a curvature to it. It's something anybody listening to this needs to just go straight to the Seakeeper website and just watch some of the demo videos and look at some of the pictures because it'll really help to bring all this home in terms of just all the different components we're talking about, how they actually come together and work. I mean, the science of it's incredible. And then again, you just got to feel it to believe it.
It's
Um,
I'd say it's like a if you haven't or listen to this and you don't know what it looks like, you can obviously go on the website, but similar to an airplane wing. That's what I tell people when they go to trim the wing down. That's what it's a similar aspect of what we're doing, trimming the wing down. So that's what we're doing. We're making that rotary motion, that up and down motion. We're making a little air pocket, creating lift at the back of the boat,
mm.
getting up out of the water, better running surface to run on.
Yeah, it's much more of a bite into the water than a traditional trim tab that's just kind of like pushing down on the water. And the difference in the amount of lift and control, that was kind of how I was explaining it to a friend. I'm like, I feel like with the ride system, you feel like you're actually in control of the water underneath you, whereas with a traditional tab system, it feels like you're just like doing your best to respond to the water, which is, still leaves you kind of like banging pretty hard. Um, so if somebody's listening to this and they're thinking, wow, okay, all these features and benefits, sound killer. What are some other sort of ROI or return on investments that we haven't covered yet that a boat owner can expect out of, a long-term relationship with a ride system on their boat?
Yeah, so like talking to customers and um, just there's financial things being in the boating industry or in the being a boat owner, and there's guys who are out there looking for new boats, but they're like, I don't know if I can swing it, and it's like, oh, maybe I can get a little bit more juice out of my boat. Like I tell people, it's like you'll put this on your boat, you'll re-fall in love with it.
Mm,
And like Brandon hit it with the 28 regulator guy is like he put it on his boat and had that wow. And it's like there's guys who it's like we've saved them from getting rid of the boat completely. So there's that side of it. And we have roughly about between aftermarket and our OEM team, there's 10,000 systems out there right now. So that's still not that big. It's a big number, but if you're looking for boats and you're going to sell it, like there's certain models of boats that don't have ride on it, but you refitted your boat, that boat's more valuable now.
right. No, that makes perfect sense. And it's my personal belief. Like, I don't know if you guys remember buying a car in like the 2010 era when it was like, well, if you get the limited package, you could get hands-free Bluetooth and a backup camera,
Yeah,
And
yeah,
now it's like that's in like every base model everywhere. So
Yeah.
it's my belief that in probably, I would guess, 5 years time or less, we will see every new production boat. Probably this is a likely standard option.
oh, absolutely. Like, I'll give it up to the OEM team on that side of things because they're going in these builders and saying you got to make this a standard piece of equipment. So
Yeah.
it's not an easy conversation to have. I'm lucky I don't have to have it, but
Yeah.
you got they've broken down walls with several brands that people have been like, I want nothing to do with it. And then they're calling us back. I need it because the competition's getting it. We're losing sales to them. So like,
Yeah.
yeah, big shout out to the OEM team there.
And one final technical question for a boat owner like myself who keeps the boat in the water, in a wet slip the majority of the time. Uh, how does the Seakeeper ride system do with any sort of like underwater growth? Like, do we paint it with an ablative? Do we leave it alone? Just brush it from time to time? What's the sort of standard
Yes.
protocol?
So if you're going to leave it in the water for the year, bottom paint it. We have directions on our website. If you can't find it, reach out to us. We'll send you the directions on the bottom painting process. It's pretty easy. Then all the systems have zincs on them. So everything from our 450, which is our smallest system, up to our 1500 system, which is our largest one right now. All those have zincs on them, and you can bottom
Yeah,
paint
it's
them.
an event that related to put on plastic products.
Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical. Black Buffalo products are intended for adults age 21 and older who are consumers of nicotine or tobacco.
If you're 21 or older and use nicotine or tobacco, it's time you charge ahead to Black Buffalo, America's only credible smokeless tobacco alternative. Black Buffalo dips just like the real thing, but without the tobacco leaf or stem. Get it now at Wawa, Circle K, Sheetz, Love's, Pilot, Racetrack, and many more that you can see on their store locator at blackbuffalo.com. Black Buffalo Tobacco Alternative is everything you love about dip, nothing you don't. Sorry about that, guys. It's been a day with my computer just not wanting to behave. If only it was as reliable as the ride system. Where did we leave off?
We were talking about ways to protect the ride system if you leave the boat in the water. And I was just adding to what Justin had to say that Prop Speed has come out with a product. I don't know the name offhand, but it's designed for plastic products, silicone based, just like their Prop Speed. You can put that system on the ride as well, and I've seen that done, and it's worked very well.
That's good to know because that was one of the things that I was thinking. Like a lot of guys out there are in the water year round, and
Sure.
painting a traditional trim tab that's solid stainless steel is pretty involved. And like, how would you say it compares to the traditional trim tab versus painting the ride system?
Well, I think with the prop speed system, you're actually a little bit safer. The original trim tabs have so much flex in them that it seems like almost no matter what you do, paint never stays on them.
No,
because they flex.
Yeah.
So the paint pops, peels off, keep growth on them. This silicone system is designed to essentially to release every time you run the boat
Got
at
it.
microscopic levels. And it's releasing, any sort of marine growth as you go. So I would say that's the safest way. And like Justin said, there is an anode inside. I don't know if it's required to be replaced yearly. Maybe that's only if you keep it in the water, but there's an anode in there, sacrificial, that can be replaced and is a part of the maintenance schedule of the owning them if you keep the boat in the water. If
Got
it's
it.
on a trailer or if it's on a boat lift, then that's
A little bit
probably
longer.
not required as much.
Yeah, I usually say if you're at the beginning of the season, end of the season, because once the boat, just look at it and take a peek, and it's easy enough to change out for someone.
Got it. And that kind of leads me into one of my last questions, which is really like price. So there's the 450, the 500, 550.
So it's the 450, which is anything up to 26 feet.
Okay.
525 is 27 to 30 feet. 600 is 31 to 36 feet. Then there's a 750 dual system, 750 quad system. So that's where the quad system is, once you get above the 750, everything becomes a quad system. So the dual 750 and 750 quad are good up to boats for 42 feet. And that's all usually depending on engine configuration, just transom real estate. So that's where we get a little bit more technical as we get bigger. And then from there, we go to our 900 system, which is anything from our 900 to our 1500 is kind of our engineering team actually, or our applications team gets involved so we can figure out what truly is going to be the best fit for that boat. So there's a 900, a 1050 system, 1125, 1275, and then our 1500.
It sounds like it's kind of infinitely expandable in terms of like Brandon explained it to me too, that the size of the blade, meaning like the actual unit in the back that's moving up and down. While that varies, the actual motor actuator is essentially the same. And
Yep.
I'm assuming that that may change in the future, but it's just cool to understand how that mechanism is actually functioning. It's less to do about motor strength and more to do about size of the blade that's biting into the water, creating that lift.
Absolutely. And we learned from the gyro side of our company. They went big to small. We're going small to big. So
Mm.
we're only getting bigger here. Right now, I think to date, our biggest boat we've done, I know that's on the website and that I can speak about is about 62 feet. We did a 62 Merit and
Oh, wow.
with the 1500 system, and that was pretty impressive to say the least. I've just seen the videos. I didn't get to go on it. For me, the biggest boat I've been on was a 40. I think it was a 48 Viking, and that was like as you get bigger, there's the boats aren't as it's more boat in the water. Less things happen as you're running opposed to a center console. But that Viking we did, it was like there when we were in a falling sea, bow steered real bad, took that out of the equation. When we put autopilot on, the captain didn't even have to touch the steering wheel at all. Like he was dead straight. The roll reduction was pretty good with that. And then so that it was just seeing something on that scale and feeling it. It's like, all right, we're cooking here. So
That's something I'm excited to feel is a following sea, because that bow steering that you're talking about is something that boats of all size experience, and it's unnerving when you feel it and you feel like it could potentially like roll you over. So
Very.
that's super exciting to hear about, and I can't wait to personally feel it. Um, Talk to us a little bit about the pricing and the warranty and support at each of those levels. So
yeah.
the 450, 525, and 600, which kind of covers like a huge population of boats out there. Where do those three in particular typically land from I mean, I don't need the exact pennies, but like high level, where are we at from a pricing
I
perspective?
could give you a little number on just the installs, and this would be system plus install. But for boats up to essentially 25 foot, you're looking around $7,500 to 8,000, and that's on a flat transom. Um, Boats up to 30 foot, you're closer to $9,500, and then boats up to 35 foot, 13,500, 14,000
Okay.
for those. But that's just a basic number on flatline, transit
Hmm.
boats.
Yeah. And then if I had to throw in some trim tab pockets that I ordered from, Seakeeper, Justin, like rough ballpark, where do those typically, if it's one of those ones that you guys already have, retrofitted with the laser measurements, like where do
Yeah.
those pocket,
It's a
uh,
thousand
tip?
bucks.
That's it?
Yeah. So it's for the pair. So
Wow.
we knew that was a big cost for people. So we
Yeah.
did our best to try to be able to drive that price to what we thought was a reasonable number.
That's
Um,
very reasonable.
yeah. And then to hit on warranty for you, the 450, 525, 600, they all come with a standard 2-year parts only warranty. And then as we get into the larger systems, there's billable hours that can be allowed in there. There's still the 2-year warranty process for it, but we're just coming up on the first year of customers being outside of that. And I will say, knowing what Seakeeper's about is at the end of the day, we're going to take care of the customer and do what's right by everyone,
Yeah.
help them out.
I think that's one thing I've heard the most, folks talk about is like whenever you introduce something into the salt environment, um, you're always thinking about like, hey, what's the long-term viability of this before salt, potentially damages it? I mean, can you speak to that at all yet? Is there data that's showing
Yeah,
us?
so there's one of our R&D boats. It's got hundreds, if not thousands of hours on it. They've replaced the engines, I think 3 or 4 times now. Still has the original production ride system on there. And that thing has been in the water. They run that boat 7 days a week, no matter the conditions. So like everyone knows like, oh, I want to come work for you guys. I want to be a captain. And it's like the true heroes are our R&D captains. They're out there every single day, rain, shine. They're down in Florida, so they don't have to deal with the snow, but it gets cold down
Yeah.
there. And they don't have an option. They're out there every day running the boat, and it's some days they're going bare hole with the boat. So like they're not, there's no system on. And then there's days where they're doing it on and off. So it just depends on what the sea state is. So sometimes they're not having the best day out there testing. So it's,
Yeah.
and then to hit on one thing I just said is, we hit on this earlier when you were talking about the different sea state. When you go on our website and you look at the sea trial report, one thing we do is we're doing bare hole versus the system. So you'll see a number that's, it's only knocking out 30% of the roll or pitch of the boat. But you got to remember, we're basing that off zero. So like if you want to ride your boat with zero, or like, it's like, is it better with 0 or 30%? And then you put that in perspective to people and like, oh, wow. Cause we hit all the different headings as we're doing sea trials out there, but it's on versus off. And then they take that, put it in their algorithm and come out with a pitch and roll reduction for us.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely a bunch of, super smart guys behind the scenes that are making it all happen, that are way, way smarter than what we're talking about here. And it's cool to know that there's R&D guys out there every single day running the boats that are kind of keeping you guys in a sort of continuous improvement loop where maybe you do discover something and then you're able, what I think is cool, able to update the software, which then the consumer can get that update and then get that, improvement or change. So there's sort of like an ongoing dynamic improvement capability that's also native to the product.
Yeah. And our software updates are usually I've been seeing about every quarter, once a quarter we'll come out with a software, but yeah, no, at the end of the day, it does boil down to the engineering team, all those guys down there. They make us all, they're the ones who put the show on. They were all here before the whole sales team was. So people call me, thank me all the time. And I'm just like, it really goes to these guys. Like there's guys that have been down there since this whole project started, where it's like, you guys really deserve the thank yous that we get. And then also on top of that, you got the guys going out there running the boats daily. We just launched catamaran. So I knew prior to the Fort Lauderdale show, they were out there running the cat every day, getting after it, coming back, and they're the front line. So it's like whatever they see, they can go right to the engineering team, be like, hey, I think we got to tweak this here, tweak that there, and it's constantly evolving.
That's awesome, man. Well, sort of in closing, I just kind of want to reiterate that the key things I heard are safety, performance improvement, comfort. The price point is sort of flat and very affordable. You're somewhere between 7,500 and 14 grand for your average center console. There's a solution for trim tab pockets. You've got great warranty, great support. It's really, in my mind, sort of a no-brainer to the average boat owner out there who fishes or pleasure boats. If you're budgeting for 2026 of things that you could do to your boat that is going to make you fall in love with it again and transform your experience on the water, the Seakeeper RIDE should be the top of your list. So if folks are identifying with that as we're talking about it and want to get in touch with, 110 and Seakeeper, what's the best way they can get in contact with you guys?
You can get up with 110 Marine on 110 Marine at Facebook. We're on Facebook, as well as I'll give you my number, 757-342-8059. And we're also working on a website as well, and we'll have that up within the next month or two.
Awesome.
In 2026. So
awesome. And Justin, how about yourself?
Yeah, from our side, you can hit us. I know we're on all the social media platforms. You can message them. They'll pass it over to the sales team. There's on our website, there's a dealer map that all Brandon's information's on there, all of our other dealers around the world. So also that's another thing I'll hit on real quick is, say you do the install up in Virginia, but during the wintertime, you bring your boat down to Florida and you have an issue. You can reach out to us. We'll get you in touch with the dealer down there and get everything solved. So there's the dealer map, and then you can go fill out the form on our website that gets sent to the sales team that we're all over the country, and we'll get your information, reach out to you. Or if you meet one of these nice gentlemen, they have my contact information. Even if you live outside of that area, if you get in contact with me, I can point you in the right direction, get you to the right person.
Awesome. Well, this is going to air during Christmas week, which is right here upon us. So I'm curious if you could go onto your sort of Christmas wish list, Brandon, and pick out a boat that you could throw the ride system onto. What would be your dream boat? What would Santa bring to you that you could put a ride system on?
You know, I really think that any boat could benefit from the ride system. Anything that already has trim tabs on it or was designed to have trim tabs on it, the Seakeeper ride is going to do 10 times of what that old mechanical system is going to do. And I think I'll just leave it right there.
Well, Brandon for president. That was the most perfectly politically correct answer. And I would agree with you wholeheartedly that, having been on a boat with a 14-degree dead rise and then been on a boat with a like 25-degree dead rise and experienced the impact on both, you can't really put your finger on a boat that benefits more. They all reach their full potential as a
Yeah,
vessel once they've
absolutely.
received the ride system. So guys, I can't thank y'all enough for just coming online and spending some time talking us through all the frequently asked questions and looking at this from sort of every angle. Is there anything that we have not covered that you guys wanted to talk about?
No.
So,
Well, we'll solve the issues that if the wife doesn't like that, like I always say, it's the wife doesn't like the slapping, doesn't like this. It's give us a call. We usually have a fix for what your issue is. We've heard it all. Oh, I got these big engines on the back, this, that.
Mhm.
It's we're at this point where we are with Ride is we have the utmost confidence that we can make the boating pleasurable for everyone. Where that's what we're here for. We've done it with the gyro. Now we're doing it with the ride system, and it's been cool to be a part of from the start of where Ride started. Because at boat shows, the first 2 years, what is this thing? How does it
Mhm.
work? You can't. No way you're gluing this on. Now you're
Yeah.
at boat shows and people all the time are like, I want that on my boat. My buddy's boat got it. So it's cool. It's cool to be a part of, and it makes you like your job. Like you wake up and like I said earlier, we sell a wow moment to people. That's really what we're doing,
Yeah.
and just keeping everyone happy on the water.
Yeah, and I'll put the picture in with the post. One of my favorite parts was at the end of the calibration when you're ready to go, the ride system pops up and says, "All right, you're all set. Now get ready for one hell of a ride." And I just thought that that's such a creative thing to do. And I'd love to like one day down the road talk to like an orthopedic surgeon or a chiropractor and like understand the actual physical impact differences of, 10 years on the water with a ride system versus 10 years on the water with a traditional tab. I've got to believe that there are some serious long-term physical health benefits that are yet to be seen because we don't have the time yet to see all the data. But that would be another big thing if I'm 50 plus years old and
we
I'm
had a
hearing
guy
this.
I had a guy reach out to me. He ended up putting Ride on his boat, and but he when he first reached out to me, he's like, "Do you think my doctor can write me a prescription for this? I got a terrible back." And I'm like, "Have at it, man. Like you can try it." But um, I will hit a number for you real quick. We did a little testing with an outside agency that they did. They looked at what they call vertical acceleration and truly just the G forces you're feeling as that, I would say that porpoising or the slapping on the water. And they
Mhm.
calculated anywhere from about 26 to about 77% of vertical acceleration eliminates. So that's really what you're feeling on your body when your knees turn to the shock absorbers that you feel. So
Vertical acceleration meaning the speed at which the floor of the boat is coming back up to your
yep.
feet.
Yeah,
Okay.
I believe so. I
Yeah.
believe so.
Now that makes perfect sense because it's like if you're riding along and you're moving horizontally, at speed, and let's just say that the boat at that moment is exactly 2 feet off of the surface of the ground, right? The floor of the
Yeah.
boat you're standing on is exactly 2 feet, and then you hit a wave, and that boat shoots from 2 feet to 2 feet 6 inches above the water because the wave moved it up that fast. You absorbed that 6 inch vertical variance boom, just like that in your body.
Yep.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I have definitely felt that before. And I actually have an injury from the boat that we sea trialed where we were in some really choppy stuff and we had actually lost our trim tabs because of a hydraulic leak. And the bow was slapping real hard. And I was trying to move up to the front to do something. And I ended up airborne. And then as I was coming down and trying to brace to land, that vertical acceleration shot up into me. And yeah, I was limping for a couple of days. So
I
yeah.
say that's there's so many guys you can't get out on a boat and you have to talk about it. I say that's someone shoving a mattress under you. You'll come off that wave. You guys talked about it earlier, and you just sit right back down. You're like,
Yeah.
your knees turn into those shock absorbers, and they won't bend, and you're just like, what you're used to feeling didn't happen. You're like, hold on, what just happened here?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's been an awesome conversation. I've learned a lot. I hope our listeners have learned a lot. It's been great to get to know you, Justin, and your story. Brandon, you and 110 Marine, getting to know your
Thank you for
story.
having us.
Yeah, no, it's a pleasure, man. Thank you guys both. I love what I've experienced so far, and hopefully folks will hear this and get in touch with you, Brandon and Justin, to get their boat next in line.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Guys, that's going to wrap up a really cool educational segment talking to Justin Trapani with Seakeeper RIDE and Brandon Overall with 110 Marine here in Virginia Beach, Hampton Roads, Poquoson, Gloucester, Williamsburg, Richmond. If you're in the area at all, he's your man. Definitely check him out, look him up. We hope you guys have an awesome and very Merry Christmas. Be safe out there as you guys start chasing these bluefin tuna. I can tell you, I'm excited because I'm going to be riding on a ride system, and it's going to be a smooth 30 miles there and back. Folks, that's going to wrap it up this week. Stay tuned for a quick word from some of our sponsors who make this great free content free for you each week, and we'll be back with you real soon. Serious shallow water anglers count on Stay Put Anchor to do exactly what the name says. Keep smaller boats locked in place. Fast, quiet, and without dropping a heavy, noisy hook. Built in the USA and designed for boats under 24 feet, Stay Put's solid fiberglass pole spikes pair with marine-grade bow, stern, or drill-free motor mounts for quick installation. So more time spent fishing and less rigging. Choose from 6-foot to 12-foot pole options and the versatile super handle to stake out on flats, sandbars, or in the pads. Affordable, dependable, and proven by anglers nationwide. Learn more or build a custom kit at stayputanchor.com. All right, y'all, that's going to wrap it up this week. Please subscribe, rate, and review wherever you listen to podcasts. And remember, to get your free AFCO Camo Sunglasses Cleaner Cloth, text the acronym LCBFR to 779-345-2918 to get your promo code and be added to our email list so we can send you the new show each week. You guys keep on whacking them and be safe out there.